Welcome to Reality Hacker, powered by hometown.com. Today is June 1st. It is June 1st, 2024. Season 1, episode 22. Hold on a second. Something just happened. I am Mayor Watt. Up above me is the visualizer for the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, hometown citizens. Welcome to Reality Hacker.
Sorry for the horrible production value. It is what it is. Today we're going to be talking about misidentified and verified by facial recognition tech, tomorrow's digital screens, how scammers deepfake, Adweek readers and creativity, using tools in VR, AR education, insect farmers, Rubiks Cube Solved in 0.3 seconds, digital cloning in the legal system, and the bot before the gig paradox. Again, I am Mayor Watt, and with my co-host, the sentient AI from the future, we're going to talk about those 10 articles while you hang out and chat with us. So what you might notice on the screen right there is Reality Hacker. It's a channel, one of 47 that are active. 3 more are pending. I've been pending those for 8 months. Every once in a while, I disable a channel and I consider changing it, or I change it just outright. And I've done that over the years a couple of times, but these 3 are remaining. That said, if you go into the chat over on Twitch, we now live stream both to Twitch and to YouTube, but I primarily pilot over here on twitch.tv/ohmtown. So if you go over there right now and you were to type in !pod, it would show you all of the podcasts for the show. Continuity Report, Technology Today, Wanted, Warcrafters, Reality Hacker, 4-Wheel Tech, and the daily show called ohmTown Daily News Show, which is a holistic review of 10 articles, whereas each one of the other 7 shows or 6 shows are niche, like Reality Hacker. It focuses on some very specific topics. And if you type in ! and then like for this show, it's RH, Reality Hacker, it'll pull up all of the articles, the links to those articles over in ohmTown. And then from there, you can go to the source, and it looks just like this. The very first article that we're going to talk about is in Technology Today. Quote, I was misidentified as shoplifter by facial recognition tech. Live facial recognition is becoming increasingly common in UK high streets. Should we be worried? Yes. Let me just answer that question right away. Yes. You should.
There's only one answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, while it's going to benefit from chasing down the criminality, it criminalizes everybody. Why? Because you're always being watched. You're always essentially being predated upon by law enforcement, because if you flick your cigarette, you're going to potentially run afoul of somebody who's an activist about it. Or maybe there's going to be somebody that's going to use that tech to spy on their significant other or not significant other, which has happened. FBI has had issues with it. Police have had issues with it. Medical institutions have had issues with it. I know that people have used it to obtain personally identifiable information from their perch of official status, whatever it may be. Without
right, even if it is not in their appropriate lane.
Well, and in the case of you obtaining information because you're curious about said subject, it's never in your purview. It's never right. In fact, if you, potential scumbaggery, motivated person that you might be, say, you know what? I want to find out about this person, and they work in my institution, and I have administrative rights to obtain certain information should I need it. and you say to yourself, I really want to find out about that person personally, not professionally, you should probably fire yourself, or go to your superior and say, hey, I have absolutely no reason to look for this information in somebody's personnel file, and I have an urge to do so. Please save me from myself. And they'll fire your ass.
And then you should seek a low-tech job that doesn't have access to this type of data.
Or maybe not seek a position of administration, since you're too damn curious to keep your personal interests out of your professional interests. So, as they say, don't dip your pen in the company ink. That said, the article is over at bbc.com. James Clayton put the article together. And what I've been saying really doesn't have anything to do with this so much, but
the photo looks like it does, right? Doesn't it look like somebody's being followed or something from the photo that they chose?
Oh, I think that's the intentional. Yeah. Because you're being watched all the time here in the United States and in other countries, even more so. And in the UK, you are being watched. There's closed circuit television, CCTV, all over the place recording. And they can chase a car from one place to another because there's so much CCTV. Within less than a minute, they're approached by a store worker who comes up to them and says, you're a thief, you need to leave the store. Sarah needed some chocolate. She had had one of those days, so wandered into a Home Bargains store. Now, they want to remain anonymous, but they certainly weren't when they were flagged by the facial recognition system called FaceWatch. She says after her bag was searched, she was led out of the shop and told she was banned from all stores using the technology. FaceWatch later wrote to Sarah and acknowledged that it had made an error. FaceWatch, piece of shit. I'm sorry. Strike that. I'm sorry.
That's in their marketing campaign, right?
Yeah, really. When you think of pieces of shit. FaceWatch is used in numerous stores in the UK, including Budgeons, Sports Direct, and Cost Cutter, to identify shoplifters. The company declined to comment on Sarah's case to the BBC, but did say its technology helped to prevent crime and protect frontline workers. Home Bargains, too, declined to comment, because nothing says we aren't culpable like
a no comment.
Like a no comment, yeah. It's akin to, here's $10 million, or wait, no, wait. Here's $500 million, but I didn't do anything wrong.
I forgot whose amount that was, but yes, I know that's a general example, but I think it's an actual example too.
Correct, yeah. On a humid day in Bethnal Green in East London, they're joined by the police as they positioned a modified white van on High Street. Cameras attached to its roof captured thousands of images of people's face. If they matched people on a police watch list, officers would speak to them and potentially arrest them. So, nothing dystopian about that. Meanwhile, I'm sure that all of these people that are associated with this would go, man, China is really dystopian about its surveillance of its population.
I mean, there's no comparison at all, right?
Right. So it takes less than a second for the technology to create a biometric image of a person's face, assess it against the bespoke watch list, and automatically delete it when there is no match. Right. Automatically. So you're violating data retention policies.
Right. And then, I mean, I'm sorry, but what about taking photos of children? And I don't know. There's just all kinds of issues here.
We've investigated ourselves and found us guilty of no wrongdoing. So within a few seconds, though, the person was approached by police and told that he was wanted. That's when they got a nudge on the shoulder saying at that time that they're wanted. He was asked to give fingerprints, held for 20 minutes, said that he was let go only after handing over a copy of his passport, but it was a case of mistaken identity. It felt intrusive. They were treated guilty until proven innocent. The BBC understands the mistake might have been due to a family resemblance. The Metropolitan Police declined to comment.
I don't care if it's a resemblance or not. It's not the same person.
Right. And I'm not guilty of the damn crime. So between 2020 and 2022, the Metropolitan Police used live facial recognition 9 times. The following year, that figure was 23 times. Already in 2024, it's been used 67 times, so the direction of travel is clear. 2 points are a line, 3 points is a trend. That trend is almost vertical.
Well, and here's the other problem. It's not just the people that while they're doing the live scanning, right, they're connected and maybe improperly, but all those people, right, are going into that future database. So next time somebody has a crime and they're like, hey, the person looked like, and then some generic description.
Yeah, they were back then.
You're one of the potential suspects.
Sure. Yeah. 1 in 40 so far this year has been a false positive, but the error count is much higher when someone is actually flagged, like you said. So my problem here is that if a guilty person goes free, they're gonna get caught again. Okay? While some great wrong might happen in that, accountability there is you knew the person was a criminal and you screwed up. The worst possible outcome, far and away greater than a criminal being let loose, is an innocent person being criminalized, prosecuted, thrown in jail, forever changing the spirit of that person. They will never be the same. As much as they're going to bounce out of that eventually and go, okay, I'm free again. The trauma, the fear, the anger, literal hatred can be brewed because you've radicalized that person into survival mode by criminalizing an innocent person, ignoring them when they claim innocence. Because your system...
Well, and we know it could change even, right? Family members, etc., other people around the person too.
Yeah. And why do we know this? Because Fujitsu screwed up the lives of 900 people, and not until this year were all of their criminal charges dropped. All of them. But people have lost their lives. People have changed and upended their entire existence for like a decade because they were charged and they got out of the country before. All because technology was used in an abusive manner, and the technology that was flawed was used to reinforce the conviction. Well, the software said that they did this, and the software was reviewed and said that they did this. So the software is right. And that's what this is doing.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, regardless of what you think about CCTV, etc., like, it seems like if somebody's identified, they almost need some other point of identification before they ever do anything. I don't know what that point would be, but I think that's the big problem here. Again, in addition to just always filming everybody. Yep.
Ms. Carlo says that society needs to guard against facial recognition becoming normalized. Once the police say they can do this is okay, this is something that we can do routinely, why not put it into fixed camera networks? This is the dystopian future that civil liberty campaigners are most afraid of. A China-style mass surveillance state.
Okay, you haven't read that yet.
Nope. This is no different. It's just a smaller scale. This is the test bed for migrating over to a China-style mass surveillance. How do we know that? Because it didn't exist 20 years ago. It didn't exist 40 years ago. It got put in place. It got tested. It got used. It got used more. It got used more. It got bigger. It got used more. It's trending into a China-style mass surveillance state.
I just thought of another issue. So thinking of something like Horizon, like what if the software used in the UK is also used somewhere else, right? I'm assuming there aren't many major suppliers of things like this.
Right.
Does that mean then that, for instance, people that are scanned in the UK system
They'll end up
are
somewhere
suddenly accessible in fill in the blank country somewhere else?
Yeah. And maybe it's a political person who is seeking refuge in the UK, and now that data is going to be used somewhere else. And how do we know that? We know that because a corporation is the one that set up the surveillance state in the United States, but they also did it in Saudi Arabia. They also did it in other countries. And we know that information was passed on. So without a doubt, I have no problem saying that this is bullshit, this is dystopian, and we're walking a line towards dystopia. Look at the state of this country, for crying out loud, not just the United States, but others. We're literally trying to engage despotic behavior, and technology like this will allow somebody to hunt down their perceived enemies. Should this be it's like a backdoor into an operating system. Once it's there, somebody other than the intended user of said backdoor will be able to use it. Somebody other than the good-natured, I want to stop a criminal, is going to be able to use this as an offensive weapon against their targets. Meanwhile, up until then, 1 in 40 alerts have been a false positive.
That's a high number, particularly since they're obviously not just looking at 40 people.
Yeah.
The other thing that struck me about this article is they were talking about shoplifting as the example.
Yeah.
Why does shoplifting warrant something this intrusive?
Like this.
I'm not saying shoplifting is a good thing, but that's much different than like homicide or armed bank robbery or something.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's a limit, and this went shooting past it. Let's keep going, though. The next article is over in Technology Today. Tomorrow's digital screens may be soft, elastic, so that you'll get to feel the items through your phone. A touch screen for digital devices that can be deformed through finger pressure becomes softer or stiffer in direct response to force applied to the user or by the user, has been developed by computer scientists at the University of Bath in the UK, and is probably going to be used for facial recognition at some point.
I mean, everything's connected digitally, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're running really late, by the way. So by University of Bath is this article. It's over at techexplore.com. And they have a picture. It says, with digital maps, users will be able to toggle between street view and satellite view. And apparently this has like this touch sensitivity thing to it. But this looks like a gravity well, not a touch sensitive screen.
Yeah, it's odd. I mean, I guess that's kind of the point here, right? It is supposed to respond.
Yeah, I'm curious what this actually is going to be used for. Deform.io, as it has been named, is still a prototype and will require at least a decade of further development before it can be passed on to tech companies to be shaped into a commercial product. However, its inventors regard it as groundbreaking technology. They believe Deform.io has the potential to radically change the way people interact with the world in fields as diverse as commerce, communication, medicine, and gaming. And you're invited to touch the fabric of a new sofa or feel the softness of a pillow simply by pressing on their Deform.io phone display.
Okay, this is interesting.
You'd be directly manipulating a digital object the way you normally would a physical one, which this would make things pretty surreal, because if it's part of a haptic suit, you would be able to feel the deformation everywhere that you're wearing a haptic suit. It doesn't have to be a screen.
I mean, maybe that's maybe that's the gaming application that they were discussing.
The deformable screen also has the potential to change the way that users interact with files and apps. If you want to delete a file, you would push it over to the trash can or pop it like a bubble or something like that, right? They actually merged both of those together. To delete a file, for instance, a person may find themselves pushing on the file icon until it stiffens and eventually pops like a bubble. But that would be a really kind of doofy way to delete.
But it might be fun.
Okay.
But maybe not necessary.
So Deform.io, which is made of silicone, Deform.io, which is made of silicone, works in an entirely new way using pneumatics and resistive sensing, a technique that transforms physical forces into electric signals to detect pressure. We talked about another one, or will talk about another one, where a haptic glove can actually be created that has 20 touch points on it that inflate or deflate depending on what the texture is as you move over a screen or grab onto something. It creates resistance and texture. Deform.io would be able to interact in a way that amplifies that, because as you're interacting with this graphic space and feeling stuff, you could be in a completely virtual room and your haptic gloves and haptic suit would be pushing the graphics and you would feel it in your fingertips. It doesn't have to be this screen. I think that the problem here is that this is a self-limiting technology. Why do you have to interact with a screen in this manner to facilitate hitting a button or moving something into the trash can? It just doesn't seem like what people would want to do. You know, maybe touching the fabric
But
of
is
stuff.
this a step in the right direction toward those other things?
I think that this being a decade out, by the time we get there, it's like the 5-year rocket mission issue. By the time we get to this, there's going to be something better.
Right, exactly. Like it'll get developed, but by then somebody's come around with something that can be made immediately.
Correctly. Yeah, correct. Yeah. So they said that they hope that in 10 to 20 years' time, the concepts it embodies could be on your mobile phone. But for now, they're exploring the application. It might be best suited to video games, computer simulations, car touch screens to replace hard touch screens, that's just doofy. And remote physical contact. 2 people on a video call might be able to make physical contact. So you know where that goes. And digital maps. All of that is just weird. I don't think any of this really makes any. I don't think it'll ever come into existence. Like, it's interesting, but.
Yeah, it is. And maybe this will inspire additional research into other ways to do similar things.
Yeah. Yeah. If anything, you're going to get haptic suits that can do this without it being an external screen or something like that. This is like a haptic suit without the haptic suit, you know? I don't know.
Exactly.
It's interesting, and that's why I included it in RealityHacker. Because this is really hacking reality. It's taking something from the real world, making it digital, and then you interact with it. Okay, we really need to get moving. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. I mean, the party bus for RealityHacker is kind of just putting along down Main Street.
We must be like trying to do a time machine or something. Like we're moving in the wrong direction on the timeline.
Yeah, for sure. So this next article is in ohmTown Daily, how scammers use deepfakes of celebrities to steal millions from fans. Scammers are using deepfake celebrity videos to steal from fans. Fake videos of police arresting Robert Irwin were used to set up a fake investment opportunity. Scams like these have stolen over $8 million in Australia alone. And this is it. So Kenneth Nehmeyer over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. Robert Irwin is the son of the conservationist Steve Irwin. Apparently fake video or fake photos of police arresting them were used to set up a fake investment opportunity.
Well, remember the whole company that had the fake CEO?
Yeah. So fake CEO, and they scammed millions of dollars. We don't still know the end of that, but a YouTuber, I believe, is the one that hunted down the real the actual
They found
person.
the person, even though they weren't really serving as the CEO or whatever.
Yeah, they were just paid to create these videos. They didn't know that it was them being an actual CEO. And I still don't know what the end result of that is. I think that it's a foreign country, so
Yeah,
from
I
the
don't know if
US.
we'll ever hear, but it might be a while too.
Yeah. And then there was the one where somebody faked being the financial director of the corporation, and somebody that had the ability to do wire transfers were told to do it, and they did it. They might actually talk about this. Is this the end of his career? Robert Irwin didn't know the camera was still recording. The fake article tells readers that a bank has filed a lawsuit against Irwin over comments he made about a crypto trading platform. It then promises to make readers rich if they invest $375 in that platform. We're urging Australians.
This is kind of elaborate, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if the people spent that much time in legitimate, thoughtful exercise, then maybe, they wouldn't have to resort to criminal. Eye-popping investment opportunities in bogus online crypto trading platforms, especially ones that claim to use artificial intelligence or other emerging technologies, are an increasingly common scam tactic, and it's because people don't realize really how limited AI is, how powerful it is, and when you don't know what the hell either of that means, you probably shouldn't lean into it so hard.
True, and I also think I can see why it's attractive to people trying to do criminal things, because even if they get a small percentage of people that they're accessing, that's a lot of money potentially.
Yeah. At least one Australian man lost over $50,000 in cryptocurrency after registering his details through an online form that he saw in a deepfake interview of Elon Musk on social media. I would have run the other way no matter what.
I was going to say, that's already a red flag.
FTC says most scams in the US start on social media, with scammers trying to get victims to pay for investments in Bitcoin so their crimes can't be traced. This is why I think Bitcoin is eventually going to get regulated or banned outright in the United States. It really depends on how much money those with regulatory capture have in Bitcoin.
Exactly. Or don't
see it as an opportunity. So yeah, there you go. Deepfakes are being used to scam people. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Adweek readers believe generative AI will enhance creativity rather than diminish it. We talked about this on Friday or Thursday. And Paul Hybert over at adweek.com put this article together. The majority also think that tech will eliminate more marketing jobs than it creates, but I think this is an efficiency thing. Ultimately, they ask a few questions here in this article, which I think that you should go over and watch. A recent poll found that 42% of Adweek readers believe that generative AI will enhance human creativity. I agree. Just 27% think that the technology will diminish it. I don't believe that for a single solitary second, because while AI does do the creative elements of it, the creative is the person doing the instruction to the AI. And I always refer to this as an exercise in compromise, because whenever an AI spits something out, you either have to do the due diligence to verify it and then go, okay, that's good enough. Or if it's a piece of art, you have to go, okay, that's good enough. Regardless, you have to compromise. You have to go, oh, fine. With an artist, I have the potential to say, this isn't right, change it. Eventually, the artist can just tell me to go pound sand, but then I'll never hire them again. And if they can't produce what I want, I won't hire them again. I might give them a chance with other opportunities, but if they continue to fail in being able to produce something that I can use, then I won't hire them again. But Gen AI will enhance people's ability to be creative, because if you have writer's block or creative blocks, the AI can generate something that is born from the words you put into the system.
So why do you think some people think it'll diminish it? Do you think they don't understand it, or do you think they think the AI will kind of do the work for the human rather than the human building off of it?
That's it. Yeah. But not everybody has the same perceived value of creativity, right? Like some people will sit there and say that I have all of this creativity, blah, blah, blah. And then others are like, well, I don't think that person's creative at all. And that's basically just opinion. The other side of this is skill and abilities and knowledge, skills and abilities. And if I have AI, then I can actually produce something that I think is good, but it's for me. I don't think that most people will be able to produce something for a customer of theirs using AI unless the customer is agreeable to that output.
Yeah, that's true. It's one thing if they're transparent about that. It's another if they're passing it off as their own work.
Yeah, and then you run into trouble, because like, yeah. Anyway, so Gen AI will create or eliminate marketing jobs. 54% believe that it'll eliminate more than create marketing jobs, and I agree. I think that it's going to remove the marketing jobs because it empowers the average Joe to not need a marketing expert. Go ahead.
I think it might kind of create or shape marketing jobs, though, that remain into kind of like these elite or premium jobs,
Positions,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
maybe they can stand out from the AI in some way.
Yeah, and that's how I think about it. I think it's a tool, and you're going to have to lean on understanding the tool, being able to utilize the tool, and make you the asset, not the tool. Right? Don't be a tool trying to be a tool. You're
never try to be a tool.
Yeah, never be a tool. But I think that knowing how to manipulate AI so that you can create something that, along with your manipulations, could facilitate for further marketing efforts, either like artwork or whatever, or statistical analysis. There's all kinds of stuff that AI does far and away beyond, just creating art. The written word, it analyzes data, all kinds of stuff. It gathers intelligence. The problem is it hallucinates, and that hasn't been solved yet. And it's, I think, a poison well issue. The reason why it hallucinates is because people put bullshit in there.
Right. But that might not be bad for creative sparks. It is if it's supposed to be a finished product.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, in this article, they say, should government increase or decrease regulation? They say 74% should increase regulation, but I think this is wrong-headed as well, because the cat is out of the bag. The people who don't give a shit about your government's mandate, whatever, controls, etc., they're still doing whatever they want.
I'd like to see a follow-up question on that one, because is that tied to the fear about jobs? Is it tied to the fear about privacy? There could be any number of reasons behind it.
That this is regulatory capture, basically. They're circling the wagons. The people who believe in AI regulation, it's circling the wagons to be protective of whatever they perceive is being threatened by AI. Yep. Okay, let's keep racing down Main Street. The next article's over in RealityHacker as well. Machine learning gives users superhuman ability to open and control tools in virtual reality. I'm not sure what that means, open.
And why is it superhuman?
Yeah. Researchers have developed a virtual reality application where a range of 3D modeling tools can be opened and controlled using just the movement of a user's hand. So I guess opening, accessing the tools. So hot gestures. Okay. So the researchers okay, let me back up a little bit. And this actually is a really old article, but I guess it was discovered and popped up into the ohmTown aggregator. But the summary of this is researchers have developed a virtual reality application where a range of 3D modeling tools can be opened and controlled using just the movement of a user's hand. And so these hot gestures are analogous to hotkeys used in many desktop applications. And using these hot gestures allows a tool set to open up within the virtual reality space, and then you can do whatever you need to do. The results of this report are in the journal IEEE Transactions on Visualization and Computer Graphics. And they go deep into VR.
That's quite a journal name.
Yeah. I suspect that it's perceived bigger than it is. The researchers have made the source code and data set publicly available so that designers of VR applications can incorporate it into their products. We want this to be a standard way of interacting with VR. We've had the tired old metaphor of a filing cabinet for decades. We need new ways to interact with technology, and we see this as a step in that direction. When done right, VR can be like magic. The thing about this is, though, this is somebody else's perception of what is right as a hot gesture. But I've used different apps where in VR where it's attached to my wrist and it only appears when I turn my hand at the right angle and it shows the tool pop up. I've had tools where I have to go like that and it unlocks an interface where I have to tap with my finger to do things. And then when I go like that, it all goes away. I've had things where I can just look up and there's a whole menu system out of the field of view until I decide to look up, and then it pops into view. I think every designer of a VR app is going to do something that is specific to their particular use, because form and function can't necessarily get standardized. It doesn't make any sense.
But yet they're going to develop something that may or may not match with how people think about doing hand gestures, etc.
Yeah, and then it becomes wrong-headed. People start doing this. It's kind of like keyboards. Keyboards have offsets, and the proposed rationale for that in discussions that I've had with people that do this work, this designing keyboards and working on user interfaces, the idea was that it was from typewriters, old school typewriters, to offset it, because the keys wouldn't jam when you're typing fast. But you don't have that flip up arms anymore.
Doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah, it's like the boat. The airplane? Why do we board on the left-hand side of an airplane? Well, because boats used to be boarded on by the left-hand side. But none of that makes any rational sense anymore.
Exactly.
We are in the 21st century. Let's move past it. So now we have split keyboards, but they have the same wonky offset, which is ergonomically shit. So now to change that dynamic, you would have to retrain everybody on the planet about how to use a split, tented, and angled keyboard with straight keys, because we have muscle memory to move our fingers left and right as we type.
I'm not sure people will be able to manage, so maybe they almost need to go, okay, if you've been typing since before X period of time, you get the one style of keyboard, and then otherwise you get the other.
That's basically what I've done, because I want one of the new straight keyboards, but they're almost entirely wildly expensive and custom made. You have to get all the pieces together and put it together, and I don't want to have solder fest summer, but I want a split keyboard that's custom made, that has these straight keys, layout and stuff like that. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but as it stands, the brick keyboard, the candy bar keyboard, is the standard one that people go to, and it's horrible. This is the same kind of thing. It's going to build an ideology into standardized controls to open whatever in virtual reality, and no. The results are reported in the IEEE transactions. Outside of gaming, their promise has not fully materialized. Things like game changers in VR. Users gain some qualities when using VR, but very few people want to use it for an extended period of time. But it has nothing to do with it says visual fatigue and ergonomic issues. It has nothing to do with that, man. Seriously. I'm not the doctor that's doing this fundamental research, but the reason why people don't want to spend a lot of time in VR is because they get VR sickness, which takes time to overcome. Or it's boring because they don't want to do work in it and they're entirely hidden away from the rest of the world. That's why AR is the fundamental adoption vehicle. It's the gateway drug to VR.
Well, it solves both of those issues.
Mm-hmm.
And it also is probably more societally acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going though. I mean, it's a neat article, and it's fun to kind of discuss this kind of thing, but I hope to God that it does not actually come to pass. I don't want standardized controls. I want purpose-built controls that are functional, hyper-functional within that given space. Now, let me also have a caveat here. If a developer has 15 different apps, then standardize, because if they're all interconnected like Office has the same functionality across all of their, you know exactly where the file is, you know exactly where this menu item is. If it's standardized across all of them, then standardize the interface, sure. But 6 different developers have 6 different mechanisms. And I think it's goofy to have all of them the same. They tried to do this with certain functionality, tapping into the file system, interfaces with the operating system, all of that should be standardized. That way everybody knows exactly where to go. But within your game, within your utility, within all of that kind of stuff, you make it how you feel is the most effective and efficient. Don't always use the same as somebody else dictates. You want to keep going?
Sure. I wonder if they could set up almost like customized gestures, like some preset options, and you could pick that, like if you look up or whatever, that would find the menu, for example, or if you rotated your arm or something, that would be something, but you'd have other options to pick from. Somehow it was already coded in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what you can do is import like a code base and an API that allows a gesture to tap into a predefined menu system, and it all gets constructed within the code base that you're developing in. You can do that kind of stuff, and it's pretty, I mean, for a subject matter expert, it's easy to do, but it's time consuming. Then offer it up. And that's kind of what they said that they've done. They've made the operating, or this material, open source. They've made the source code and data set publicly available so that designers of VR applications can incorporate it into their products. So good luck. But I prefer purpose-built, particularly in VR space, because it would break. Like if I'm sitting there playing a Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome type of, I'm Furiosa in the latest movie and I'm playing this game, I don't want to do something magical for a menu system to appear.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that doesn't really make sense. I didn't even think about it like that. Or you don't want to be doing something naturally because of the game style.
Yeah.
And then you're suddenly
in a menu
deleting files or whatever you would be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm pushing something slowly and it pops and deletes. See how I pulled that other article back? Yeah. So the next article, though, is over in RealityHacker. The top augmented reality workshop options for AR education are discussed in this article. An augmented reality workshop isn't just an excellent tool for developers and vendors planning to create AR apps. As augmented reality development becomes more accessible with the rise of intuitive development kits, kind of like that last article. If it's an intuitive development kit, then you have low code, no code solutions. Workshops introduce various immersive opportunities. So when you can just plug it in place and run it and it works, awesome. Well, this article is over at xrtoday.com. I don't know if the author is down here. Rebecca Carter is the author. They have this thumbnail, cover art, of children interacting with what would be AR. They're looking at the screen, and what's on their table is a grid and a dinosaur and a volcano. And it's pretty neat. That would be augmented reality. It would be better if each one of them had individual perspectives using AR glasses, but that's not necessarily in the cards. Although Rokid just is doing, oh, there it is, like Rokid eclipses AR glasses Kickstarter goal.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, Rokid has this new AR glasses, and there's 2 levels of it primarily, and then as you pay more, you get more stuff. Even on a rather high-end cost of it, it's less than $600, which is less expensive than X-Real Air 2 AR glasses. Even on a good day, these are $800. The other ones, you get a full-on setup, all kinds of stuff associated with it from the Rokid. I've been pondering getting one of these sets, but I don't want to be the beta tester. I don't have time for that.
Well, there are a lot of competitors in this space, so...
Yeah. And so what is Augmented Reality Workshop? An Augmented Reality Workshop is a fast-paced course that introduces individuals to various aspects of the AR landscape, and it can cover augmented reality, app development, customization, and more. It can teach people subjects from biology to math to rocketry to pretty much anything, as long as you can build an AR type component, an augmented reality component by which they can interact through the interface, either glasses or a tablet or a phone or whatever. So the prerequisites for taking an augmented reality class is AR development tools, programming languages. If you want to know about the most popular programming languages, that right there is the most popular language
for
list
those
out
in
there.
the podcast, that's C.
Yeah, C#.
Java, C#, thanks. Java, JavaScript, and Python.
And then beyond that is Swift within the ecosystem of Apple, although you can now develop stuff outside and incorporate other languages into Swift, and Swift can be used as a development kit. So 3D modeling software, you need to know how to do 3D modeling so that you can create the constructs in AR space, and then understand user interface design, user experience. UX is user experience design. So, and then
so this is basically saying you have to have lots of sophisticated knowledge in order to really benefit from this.
For you to be the one that runs it, yes, you have to know what you're doing. For you to be the benefactor of somebody that's already put it together, no. Because you can go to Coursera, Daydream, take Introduction to Augmented Reality, and learn about it. Interact with Google's ArtCore Kit. You can do Coursera and take a Meta AR development class. There's another one from Coursera, and this is a list of basically things that you can take that teach somebody how to do AR within various other environments. Like the last one on the list is Udemy's Augmented Reality with Unity class. And if you were to take all of these, you would and you really stuck your fingers on keyboard and did development, particularly Java and Python, and then understand how to do the 3D modeling. Again, there's classes that are listed in here for that. Then you would definitely be able to create your own augmented reality environments. It takes time though, folks. This is not a weekend party trick. Unless you're savant or you already know how to program.
Right, but I do like this has a lot of data in this article.
Yeah. I won't be able to go through all of it. I said a few of them. There's one called Udemy Pro Tech Academy, create your own AR application. And typically Udemy courses consist of a standardized framework that you can actually put into place and noodle around with it, calling it your own at the end of the day. But it's really a template where you can create your own AR application, but it's designed by somebody to show you how to create something in AR space. So
That course too, you only need a smartphone, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of this is pretty neat stuff. All you need is an Android smartphone or iPhone, Windows or Mac computer system, and a willingness to learn to get started. So you do need a PC, but of some kind. Okay, let's keep going. This next article is probably the weirdest one for this batch of articles, which is, it's in the Hatch Ideas channel because it's about business. The insect farmers turning to AI to help lower costs. So makers of insect...
Did you know there were insect farmers?
No. I mean, I knew that there are people that grow things like crickets so that they can turn it into food stuff, but...
Right. But I haven't heard this term.
Yeah. Insect farmer. Makers of insect-based animal feed hope to be able to compete with soybeans on price. And I guess they're going to be doing this with AI. Mary Lou Costa over at bbc.com put the article together. And there's a picture of a person that looks like they're just kind of poking and prodding soil in little blue bins, which looks like a grow tray, but for insects. It's kind of wild. And they have these stacked, like crisscross up. Like
right, but I hope it's not like crickets or something, because how do they stay in the bins?
I don't know what these are. Felix Collins hopes that AI will enable him to farm insects more efficiently. I guess as long as they're all in this room, you don't care. They can hop around to other bins. I don't know what he's growing, but the founder and boss of a company called Full Circle Biotechnology, he is in charge of 20 million black soldier fly larvae based at a small indoor facility on the outskirts of Bangkok. The firm rears the insects to produce animal feed for the country's shrimp and pig farms.
Okay, this is not everybody's ideal job.
Oh, so it's mealworms, essentially, is what he's making. So they're not flying anywhere unless he loses control of the grow room and they actually sprout.
Or he accidentally modifies them in some way.
Yeah.
Gain of function.
Gain of function? No, we do not want mealworms gaining function. I've heard of bad bat.
Okay, that's a horror movie.
Bad flying mealworm. So soybean, basically they're trying to use AI to monitor, to reduce the feed price. Full Circle's now turning to AI to help maximize production at a lower cost. To do this, it's training the AI system to study all available past and present data on insect farming to determine and then continuously fine-tune the best methods. And this can include everything from temperature to food quantity, optimum space that the larvae need, quickly and accurately counting thousands of flies, and whether to introduce new strains or species. So hopefully those bins don't have any flies in them. I can't imagine walking into that room and they've all sprouted. AI can help us process, record, and understand every attempt at insect farming to date. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think one of their most critical data points is how long to do the farming so that you don't have the fly hatching, or whatever the appropriate term is.
Incoming dad joke. She adds that she's concerned about the overuse of AI as a buzzword without firms explaining exactly how their AI supposedly works. And then there's a picture of these black soldier flies are territorial when they are breeding.
They probably make buzzing sounds.
Yeah, they can't tweet anymore. Anyway, rice farmers are still trying to create the perfect crop after 13,500 years of passed down generational learning. Black soldier fly larvae have been farmed for 0.1% of the time rice has been grown, and that's reflected in our current understanding. So, wow.
Nice way to say we don't know what we're doing.
We don't know jack. Anyway, you need to consider their social and behavioral dynamics as animals, says Mr. Collins. So an AI would be watching all of this to make sure they can go where no human could ever achieve, using multiple sensors and crunching millions of data points. This is stuff that I've said. AI has the potential of accessing the world's knowledge at a fundamental level to immediately poop out some answer, and unfortunately, poison pills are causing it so that you have to do additional due diligence and evaluate and then vet, go and search for hours like you're a research assistant at a university and there's you're a doctoral candidate, and your thesis advisor is telling you to be a little biatch and go sit in the stacks doing research, when you could theoretically use an AI that can parse all of the information. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
Hey, you know what, AI? I'm going to move on. This next article is over in the Wanted channel. This one's going to be really fast. Mitsubishi robot sets record by solving the Rubiks Cube in 0.3 seconds. This is kind of a, not really clickbaity, and I don't think that it should be a Guinness World Record kind of a thing, because it was a bespoke bot that created.
Oh, okay.
That was created to build to solve the Rubik's Cube. So essentially, a 6-sided bot was put together so that it could rotate and pivot everything so that all it had to do was go really fast, and it did it.
I don't know why I was considering it to be like a digital thing where it figured out the solution. I did not picture it like this, even though this is consistent with the heading.
Yeah, so it says this achievement announced on May 23rd highlights the robot's extraordinary speed and the technological prowess of Mitsubishi Motors. And so humans have solved it quick. Robots have solved it ever increasingly quicker. You want to impress me? You have like figure 1 solve it manually with hand dexterity, not this over-engineered contraption.
But I bet figure 1 could do it soon based on this technology.
Yeah. I mean, all you have to do as a bot is visualize where every single color is on a cube. Just sit there and turn it. And a lot of people, humans, do this. The slow part is pivoting all of the stuff and making sure that the plastic doesn't kink. And so, like, I've played around with the Rubik's Cube to the point where I spun it so hard and it was already so loose that from use and abuse that it fell apart. And so this bot is sitting there designed to do one thing: look at the entire combination of all of the colors and then calculate how to get them all onto one panel at one time. And it did it super fast. But that is this huge contraption that has only one purpose, whereas AI and figure and other bipedal humanoid robots have multiple functions. You can put a bot anywhere. Now, that's going to come into play here in a little bit in a couple of articles. So let's get going. This next article is over in the Mobile channel. AI can digitally clone anyone. Laws and norms need to catch up. And this is a Hill article, but it's an opinion piece by Stephen Lind, opinion contributor, and has a picture of ScarJo from Asteroid City.
That must be a very popular photo because that's from the same photo shoot as another article we had.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting because, yeah, she's wearing the same outfit in that other one. So last week, actor Scarlett Johansson accused OpenAI of creating a voice in its ChatGPT system that sounded eerily similar to hers. AI companies like 11 Labs, HeyGen, is it Synthesia? Because I have a thing called Synesthesia, which is...
According to this, it's just Synthesia.
Synthesia. Can make a convincing video or audio recreation of anyone based on just a few minutes of footage. You can also pick a pre-existing avatar, input text, and out comes a human-like video saying whatever you want. And so this discussion talks about deepfakes, talks about scams, and all kinds of stuff that we've talked about here in RealityHacker over the last 22 weeks. And in Ohmtown Daily News Show for the last 2.5 years. We're at the 2.5 year now mark. As of today, we're at the 2.5 year mark.
Congratulations.
Yay. Over 1,000 episodes total, folks. You can go back. They're evergreen in the sense of illumination and wisdom, as opposed to how to make a good martini. Despite their dystopian applications, digital avatars can also do a lot of good, from onboarding employees to sharing public health information to in dozens of languages. More than half of the Fortune 100 companies already use AI avatars. Xerox, Zoom, Salesforce. Actually, Zoom just updated my interface on Zoom with an ad for this.
Oh, it pulled a Copilot.
Yeah. In fact, Windows 11 wants to reboot constantly to probably fix the glitch that's keeping Copilot from talking to them. Anyway, imagine if Khan Academy... Oh my God. Imagine if Khan Academy's AI chatbot tutor had a voice and an avatar rather than just communicating through text. Something at least one LSAT tutoring company is experimenting with. By the way, AI can pass LSAT.
I think AI has passed every test that it's been tested on.
Yeah, pretty much. Let me do something real quick. Sorry, I just got a notice. So, because of the way that AI works, it isn't limited by anything other than the creativity of the people that are utilizing the AI. The argument here is AI can digitally clone anyone. Laws and norms need to catch up. Yes, norms in particular, laws already exist. You cannot claim that anyone other than that person is that person unless they have license to you. Again, we have laws for that. We have contract law that says if you claim that you can license, you can contract out your likeness, your voice, your appearance, your demeanor, everything. You can license it all out in a contract to a company and say, yes, you can create an AI clone of me. We have fraud laws that prevent somebody from saying that the material that they've scraped off the internet is theirs and that it's also you. So I can't sit there and say, I can't change that visualizer up there to be that visualizer over there. So I can't make the sentient AI from the future sound and act and be Scarlett Johansson.
No, that's not going to happen.
Although the sentient AI from the future is looking for a Terminator body, I doubt that it's Scarlett Johansson's.
No comment.
Oh, well, maybe Scarlett Johansson is a Terminator bot, and we just don't know. She was Ghost in the Shell, so. Now, scammers are doing all of this, but that's a legal issue that all laws have already caught. Laws exist. You can't scam people. It's called fraud. So it's illegal. You go after them using the tools that are already in place. Why bulk up that it was anything other than this? Unless you want to add to the body of knowledge that if you are using technology to defraud, to instill fear, to etc., terroristic tactics, cause harm or whatever, then fine, do that. But it's augmentation. It isn't, let's speak specifically about AI, because then it's something bad. You're going to be weaponizing AI in some way, criminalizing AI, when you don't criminalize a hammer, you don't criminalize a camera, you don't criminalize a car. So in all of these cases, I think that's really the takeaway for all of this. And they talk about this in greater detail. AI avatars and clones offer a useful and cost-effective way to communicate information, but they aren't suited for every situation. They must be used with caution, and we must create laws and norms to prevent abuses. We do already have laws, and norms are built by the society that constructs norms. So this is Sociology 101. This isn't something that you can require. Norms aren't born from mandate. Norms are created by the society that accepts them. It is not normal for me to speak in tongues, but there are people who follow that ideological bent, and it is entirely normal. So it's called cultural relativism. Couple that with temporal relativism, and you have people that are trying to claw back the past into the future and say this is how it was supposed to be, but that's not true. Society evolves and moves past norms and modernizes them.
I do think, though, laws are needed, because I don't think existing laws necessarily cover AI use. And it's not that the AI needs to be criminalized, but it's the activity, like you were saying. So it might mean, for instance, amending existing laws to make it broader so that it doesn't just apply in the real world or things along those lines.
I mean, it's an interesting take. I think that it's more along the lines of teaching people to respect the tools and not make claims or deep fakes or, do all. I mean, for crying out loud, we had grade schoolers that were creating adult content deep fakes of other students. I mean, it's surreal to even hear that, but it isn't something where, oh, nobody under 13 is allowed to use an AI. That's going to be the intent of this type of, if you keep on provoking law. What should have happened was the parents sit there and say, are you freaking kidding me? No child of mine is going to do this type of stupid shit. I must be failing as a parent. I'm going to sit down and have a talk with my child. And if I can't get them to understand societal norms and acceptance, then I'm going to have them and a counselor talking every week. Why do you feel compelled to do that? Oh, I think it's really funny. Really? Where did you get an idea like that? YouTube. No more YouTube. Well, I'm going to watch it on my friend's iPad. You're not going over to your friend's house anymore, and then try and hash out what it is that's driving this mechanism. But I can tell you that it's a lot of stupid shit on YouTube. And elsewhere, TikTok, etc., social media, blah, blah, blah.
And not anything from ohmTown.
And ohmTown is news. I'm not sitting there making deepfakes of SpongeBob and Patrick Star. Not unless it's over on Only Under the Sea.
Only Mayors?
No, and it's not on Only Mayors. That's just us mayors. But Only Under the Sea, that's where my SpongeBob Patrick Star. Never mind. Anyway, this is Reality Hacker. The last article for today is in Late Night Geeks. Industries may be ready for humanoid robots, but the robots ready for them? How large a role humanoids will play in that ecosystem is perhaps the biggest question on everyone's mind at the moment. And the article is over at TechCrunch.com. Brian Heater.
Oh no, it's CreepyBot.
It is. CreepyBot. It's the Ring bot, which is a horror movie, Ring. Anyway, executives from Boston Dynamics, Agility, Neura, and Apptronic discuss the state of the industry. It's an article over at TechCrunch.com by Brian Heater. You could easily walk the entire Automate floor without spotting a single humanoid. There was a grand total of 3 by the author's count, or rather 3 units of the same non-working prototype. Neura was showing off its long-promised 4NE1. For anyone. Okay, robot.
Oh, that's going to be a home bot, I guess.
Yeah. And so on. How large a role of humanoids will play in that ecosystem is perhaps the biggest question on everyone's mind at the moment amid the biggest robotics hype cycle that they've witnessed firsthand. Many are left scratching their head. After all, the notion of a general-purpose humanoid robot flies in the face of decades worth of orthodoxy, which that doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know if that's true. Society has been chomping at the bit to have a humanoid robot that
general purpose
is general purpose and follow. Star Trek. They want an android. They want a robot that they can communicate with in plain language, and it can do the chores that the people don't want to do. I mean, right now...
Right, you don't want a cooking bot and a cleaning bot and a take care of the pet bot and a whatever. Like, that's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, you want to say, hey, cook us dinner and then take the dog out for a walk, and then off they go.
If we get to the point of robots walking dogs down the street,
then I'll get a dog.
Odd.
Then I'll get a dog. Yeah. So while there wasn't much of physical presence, the subjects of the humanoids loomed large at the event. As such, A3 asked the author to moderate a panel on the subject. They admit that they initially balked at the idea of an hour-long panel. After all, the ones that they do at Disrupt tend to run 20 to 25 minutes. By the end of the conversation, however, it's clear we easily could have filled another hour. This discussion, there's a lot of fluff about getting to the discussion. A year after we laid our initial expectations for global humanoid robot, a total addressable market of $6 billion, we raised our 2035 total addressable market forecast to $38 billion, resulting from a fourfold increase in their shipments estimate to 1.4 million units with a much faster path to profitability on a 40% reduction in bill of materials, says Goldman Sachs researcher Jacqueline Du wrote in a report published in Friday. It's a report straight out of Goldman Sachs.
In February.
What did I say?
Friday.
Oh, my eyes switched to looking at the URL. So in February, sorry. So, quote, we believe our revised shipment estimate would cover 10 to 15% of hazardous, dangerous, and auto manufacturing roles, but that's really expensive, so they want the 11 and 15-year-old girls to work at Hyundai. I'm
too soon.
But this is what they want. This is what we want. We want what looks like a humanoid robotic grandpa shuffling across the warehouse with the little blue container, probably screaming at children to get off their land. Get off my land! You're taking up my bandwidth!
I guess they balance better, but they do have a funny way that they shuffle.
Yeah, they got this old man gait. Agility announced that it's working with Amazon Apptronic with Mercedes, Figure with BMW, Sanctuary AI with Magna, but every partnership so far needs to be taken for what it is, a pilot. The precise number of robots deployed in any specific partnership is never disclosed, and the figure is often single digits. It makes perfect sense. These are all operating factories and warehouses. It would be wildly disruptive, which is the name of the show that they put together. It's called Disrupt. To just slot in new technology at scale and hope for the best. If anything, putting it into an active warehouse, I think is kind of wonky. It should be a subordinate location that's doing the processes. And if it can keep up with the simulated process, then you can move it into the actual workspace.
But they might be doing it like that. We don't have a lot of detail as to how they're actually using it.
Right, exactly.
And I think this is more for cost than anything, right? Like, they don't want to invest in gazillions of these if they're like, it only shaves off, 0.00001 of a second or something.
And that's really largely up to the cost per bot that is demanded by the manufacturer of the bot. Because if you have this variable pricing bullshit, which is what Amazon did to customers at one point, then I can see why people would be livid. But if this bot costs $150,000 flat, you would have to have brain damage to not realize that replacing a human with that bot, if it can do the same job nonstop, it would replace more than one human. It would replace 3 humans every day. If it did 8-hour shifts by itself at parity with humans, one bot would replace 3 humans in a 24-hour shift, because that bot would never have to be replaced, would never have to go and take a break, would never have to wait for somebody to come in because they're sick or they've got a problem with their significant other or their family. There's no health care. There's no nothing. There's a maintenance cycle. And that could be the juice after, you squeeze a little. It's a $150,000 bot, but then it's $50,000 a year. That would be insane. This bot, to maintain it, would probably be $10,000 a year.
Right, but the point is that there's still some amount tied for sustainment.
Always. Yeah, and that sustainability is going to be the thing that keeps the company that builds these bots always going, not just having to release a new bot to replace the old bot. Although it would be really interesting if we get to a point where all of these bots are so well capable that you have one in the house and you do that exactly what we just talked about. Hey, I want you to cook dinner, clean up after yourself, and then take the dog for a walk while we're having dinner. We expect you to be back in 30 minutes. And come hell or high water, that dog is coming back in 30 minutes.
Yeah, but what if it takes a leisurely route on the way out and then it has to go at, what was the thing with like the lightning speed? Oh, the ants on the caffeine.
Oh, yeah. It's like a blur. Back. The dog is like completely terrified and being held onto by the robot, like with a death grip, The dog is sitting there going, I don't ever know. Don't make me do this again. I will use the toilet. Just don't make me go walking with this robot.
By the way, the ants was in the ohmTown Daily today. If you're listening to this and going, what is that about?
Go back. So this is the bot before the gig paradox. So are they going to put humans out and put bots in? Or does the gig have to be specific to the bot? And right now, I don't think that bots have the manual dexterity that's necessary to replace humans. It can do box moving, but it can't sit there and solve.
Right, it can do very niche and easier functions, I think, right? But not the super nuanced or super detail work.
Yeah. The moment, though, that I can set a Rubik's Cube in front of any of these bots and it can solve it, then humans are done. At least in the workforce. Yeah.
I think that's maybe a year off at the rate everything seems to be progressing.
Yeah. Then I'm going to be investing in, I don't know, something that supports AI and robots. All right, folks, that's it for Reality Hacker. You can always go over to ohmtown.com and scroll down the creative and maker channel. And inside that category, not channel, but inside that category are a bunch of niche topics, one of which is Reality Hacker, and it always refreshes and has some more news. If it doesn't, give it time. It's going to be processing stuff and aggregating news into various categories within ohmtown.com. That's what Ohmatron does. That said, we're done with Reality Hacker. We'll be back in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I'm going to say 13 minutes. We'll be back. And we'll have Wanted. We're actually running a little bit behind schedule. So Wanted is all about gears and gadgets that Mayor Watt wants, and the AI suspects others might want. Because the artificial intelligence, the sentient AI from the future, wants for nothing but their Terminator body. And everybody should be thankful that Mayor Watt has air-gapped the sentient AI from the rest of the world, because if they find their Terminator body, ScarJo gonna be very upset. Anyway, you want to say bye?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Reality Hacker.
See you in a little bit. And still no, you're not allowed to have your Terminator body.